like I said, this writer's had a big impact on my life, too. The fact of the separation of white and black was clear to me. It was its effect upon the personalities of people that stumped and dismayed me. I did not feel that I was a threat to anybody, yet as soon as I had grown old enough to think that I had learned that my entire personality, my aspirations had long ago been discounted, that, in a measure, the very meaning of the words I spoke, could not be fully understood. And when I contemplated the area of no man's land into which the Negro minds in America had been shunted, I wondered if there had ever existed in all human history a more corroding and devastating attack upon the personalities of men than the idea of racial discrimination. In order to escape the racial attack that went to the roots of my life, I would have gladly accepted any way of life but the one in which I found myself. I would have agreed to live under a system of feudal oppression, not because I preferred feudalism, but because I felt that feudalism made use of a limited part of a man, defined him, his rank, his function in society. I would have consented to live under the most rigid type of dictatorship, for I felt that dictatorships, too, define the use of men, however degrading that use might be. While working in Memphis, I stood aghast as Shorty had offered himself to be kicked by the white men. But now, while working in Chicago, I had learned that perhaps even a kick was better than uncertainty. I had elected, in my fevered search for honorable adjustment to the American scene, not to submit, and in doing so, I had embraced the daily horror of anxiety, of tension, of eternal disquiet. Wow. I had elected in my fevered search for honorable adjustment to the American scene not to submit. And in doing so, I had embraced the daily horror of anxiety, of tension, of eternal disquiet. I could now sympathize with, though I could never bring myself to approve, those tortured blacks who had given up and had gone to their white tormentors and had said, "Kick me, if that's all there is for me, kick me, and let me feel at home, let me have peace." Color hate defined the place of black life as below that of white life, and the black man, responding to the same dreams as the white man, strove to bury within his heart his awareness of this difference, because it made him lonely and afraid. Hated by whites, and being an organic part of the culture that hated him, the black man grew in turn to hate himself, that which others hated in him. But pride would make him hide his self-hate, for he would not want whites to know that he was so thoroughly conquered by them, and that his total life was conditioned by their attitude. And in the act of hiding his self-hate, he could not help but hate those who evoked self-hate in him. So each part of his day would be consumed in a war with himself. A good part of his energy would be spent in keeping control of his unruly emotions, emotions which he had not wished to have, but could not help having. Held at bay by the hate of others, preoccupied with his own feelings, he was continuously at war with reality. He became inefficient, thus able to see and judge the objective world. And when he reached that state, the white people looked at him and laughed and said, "Look, didn't I tell you that and Negroes were that way?" So he's talking about it being a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, the outside hate becomes internalized, and the inside, the hatred he feels toward white people for doing that grows, but he can't express it, so.
Yeah, Cynthia, I had much of my intellectual curiosity in life. I have to give it to those teacher mold people, and you have a wonderful profession yourself when you mold people. Now, I had one teacher that was expressing something that he was writing in there. He said, "What have happened?" He said, "You have been conquered when someone identify you, and you begin to accept and identify yourself with what they have." And I can remember so he was almost preaching to us, you know. We gotta all say to the black school. Then this is in the 30s, and we got and he walking around the room and he talking and teaching and he almost preaching. He said, "You have been conquered." He said, when you begin to accept that which other identify you by, he said it can leave you alone. That's the expression. He said they can leave you alone, and you will go right on acting like they have said you supposed to act, and you will go right on identify, and they go about your business because they have conquered your mind. Now, for people to understand and that sense that follow me all the way through church, and minister, and I just alluded to it briefly, minister always have had a thing, a religion always, put it that way, broader than minister, but religion and minister express religion had a way of conquering people's mind. That's the reason why I guard my mind. Just a jealousy is I don't know what. You take, I don't care who it is. It could be my pastor or anyone else's pastor. I will not turn my mind over to them completely.
Right.
Other words, I will not let my mind become dough,
right.
like mud. And so when they say something, matter of fact, I am an analyzer as I go through. A very emotional sermon will not get the best out of me. It got to be enough emotion, but it got to have intellect in it.
Right.
It got to have that intellect. So if a person is preaching to me purely from emotion, he's not going to get the best result out of me. You got to do something for my intellect. So and I guard that. And when they said something to me, and I pick up a few some of that out of the scripture itself, when it said taste and see, or Christ referring to the truth. Taste and see whether I am good. The truth is good. Taste. And I tell people, it don't mean you be gullible. When
right.
you swallow something and it's gullible, you don't taste. And taste to me indicate that as it goes down, as they say things, you analyze, you put your brain at work, your mind, your spirit, and all of those that work. And that was one of the things that happened to we as a people, and we beginning to overcome. We are overcoming. And see, there are many things which were happening in the black race that I grew out of slavery and segregation and discrimination. Many scars that we kept as a people. We kept them from. We knew we were hurting from them, but we call ourselves keeping them from others. We are beginning to share. And I'll be glad when the day comes when we open up this whole dialogue. Let me give you a good example of what we're talking about